Honestly, Fox, would your world have actually ended if you went with a common thread pitch for this tool? Hey folks, we're back again with another video, and today we're going to be removing bearing mounting hardware on a Fox shock. So I've already done a video on removing bushing based mounting hardware, and even though the process is similar between the two, the tools needed for this job are completely different than what can be used for bushing based shock mounting hardware, and you can't use them. They're not interchangeable. Fox does sell a tool for this job, but it's expensive. And what's worse, in my opinion, is that they sort of made it where it's not all that easily replaceable. You can't come up with a DIY solution, and we're going to go over that. What really sucks about all this is that whenever you need to work on the shock, if the mounting hardware is on the damper side, you always need to remove it because you can't take out the air can all that easily without, at a minimum, risking damaging the wiper. So we are going to go over options that can be used in order to replace the Fox tool if you don't want to go out there and buy it. But ultimately, if you own a shock with this mounting hardware, you might want to look around and try and find the Fox tool at a cheap price in order to help yourself moving forward when it comes to servicing your own shock. All right, so with that being said, let's get into the tools needed for the job. As for tools for the job, the one tool that will come in handy big time, the vise. This guy will make our lives a lot easier when it comes time to removing the pin on the inside, no matter the solution. Is he absolutely needed? No, but I absolutely recommend it. And it doesn't need to be a big vise either. It's not like we need tons of force over here, all right? And before I forget, somebody had asked how I mount my vise to the table. I built two blocks over here. Originally they were out of wood, but then I found these plastic 1-inch white blocks that I cut out in order to better match the background over here. And I bolted the vise down to those blocks, but it's fully maneuverable, fully mobile. And then I just use C-clamps and I clamp it to the table at the edge. So whenever I need the vise, I put it under, I clamp it, and then remove it all when I'm all done. And I've never had an issue with not having enough pressure or hold down strength doing these jobs. So hopefully that answers that question. As for the Fox tools, this is the Fox tools. These two tools are used to remove the pin on the inside and the bearings. These two tools, or these two over here, which are identical, are used to remove the cups. We'll get into alternatives for this. This is not hard to figure out. We could come up with different solutions as opposed to buying these two. These two are a little bit more challenging. Fox used what's nothing more than, let's go to inches, a 1/2-inch bolt. The problem is they used 1.25 pitch threading. It is very hard finding 1.25 pitch threading on a 1/2-inch bolt on any hardware store. Unless you have a real specialty hardware store that could get you anything you want, you're not going to find it that easily off the shelf, all right? So just an FYI on that one. You can find it online though. This is a fine pitch 1/2-inch bolt. So again, not all that easy to find. You can use a regular 1/2-inch fine thread. The problem is it's not going to perfectly fit in there, and you will have to sort of carve it out on your own and essentially create your new thread pattern that's going to be a little bit wider. That's going to be your choice whether you want to do that. But ultimately online, if you go online, you should be able to find 1/2-inch superfine thread or 1.25 threading on a 1/2-inch bolt. Basically, just make sure it has a bolt head in order to be able to use a socket on both ends to screw it down to push those cups out. All right. As far as these guys here, if we do millimeters on this one, so we're going to need the inside here. Oops, fractions, 3/8 or 10 millimeter or 9.5 millimeter. Let's do it from down here. Yeah, let's say about 9.5 millimeters should get you done. Doesn't have to be perfect. There is some slop to give you an idea, right? When we go in there, it's not exactly super tight. So, and this part here is what's going to push out the pin, basically, right? So that's all we need. Now, the receiver, in order for the bearing to come out, for instance, this, you could use anything that's round. There's about 22.9, let's say close to 23 millimeters in diameter, or 0.9 of an inch, or 29/32s, 30/32s basically. So just an FYI on that one. You could find stuff to, you know, remove it. Basically what you're looking to do is just place this part have something that's wide enough that hits the black area and not the bearing, because we're trying to push that out basically, right? So that's the goal over here. So again, the measurements I just gave you for that and the pin measurements I gave you as well, that will help you remove the pin. Like I said, this is going to be the more challenging part. Now, if you go this route, technically you can use a hammer, right? Even if you come up with your own tool, but by just tapping, just be super careful that you don't hit the damper body, right? You don't want to do any damage to it. Hence why I'm going to use the vise. So let's get this job started. As for using the first set of Fox tools, they gave you sort of like a beveled edge over here, right? The whole idea there is to protect the damper body. So you do not want to use it like this. You definitely want to just use it like that. And again, if you come up with your own, all you have to do is find something that's big enough to cover that diameter. You do not want it to touch the silver ring on the outside of the bearing, basically, the race, essentially, right? So as long as you have enough, something that's, you know, wide enough that allows the bearing to come out, then you are good. And again, as far as the pin, like I said, whatever that came out to, I forgot the measurement top of my head right now, right? I can measure it at the end again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to put him like that, make sure he doesn't touch. We're going to take this guy and then we are going to put him in the vise, hold him, make sure that we are not touching the vise body in any single which way or form, right? Now I'm freely out there and I am just going to press in, and that's it. That's simple. Boom. One side out. That's the axle, that's the bearing. Then we're going to take this guy, we're going to put him towards the other side. All right, and we're going to do the same thing. Except this guy, I'm going to have to bring him in a little bit. And nice and easy. Boom, done. Bearing number 2 out. All right, so again, like I said, all you need is anything that has an inner diameter of 0.9 inches, 29/32, give or take, right? I'm trying to round that off. So basically anything 7/8 and higher, you should be good, right? And on the outside, you just want to make it where you don't touch the damper body as far as the outside, right? So you'll be good there. And to remove the pin again, it's this inside bit right there, 3/8, anything that's 3/8 solid, no bigger than 3/8 basically, right? Or in millimeters, 9.5, 9.5 millimeters. So any rod that you could find with those measurements, you are good, right? As long as it's smaller, it can't be bigger, or else you won't be able to get it out. Now let's take out the cups. Now, to take off the cups, if you look inside, this is threaded. And again, why they didn't use just a standard thread, it would have made all our lives easier, but I understand that they want to sell a $100 tool, right? That people would barely use. So sucks, but it is what it is, guys. Ultimately, what we're going to do, we're going to take one of these pins, screw it in counterclockwise, give it about a good 8-9 turns, right? And then screw the other one again, clockwise, not counterclockwise. Did I say counterclockwise before? Ooh, I might have screwed this one in a little bit too much. Yep. There we go. All right. And then we take a 5 millimeter, either an Allen key or even easier is going to be a ratchet. And we are going to screw it down. And one will use the other one to remove it. If you notice, it's coming off. Just like that. And our cup is out. At least one cup is out, okay? Now we can take off our pin. Put them on the side, put the cup down. Now for this cup, what we're gonna do is, well, since I have it here, we're gonna take this screw, we're gonna screw it all the way down until he's pretty much flush with the cup, okay? And there's gonna be a good chunk of it sticking out on the other side. And then what we're going to do in this, you have to be careful. Smart thing to do, just in case. I'll wrap them actually, because this unfortunately is going to need force. Right? We're going to take a mallet if you have one, and now we're just going to tap and make sure not to tap out or tap onto your damper body. And if you notice, he's coming out. And he's out. Crude, without a doubt, but it works. So, and that is that. All right, so as you see, no damage on the damper body. Got to clean the dirt on the inside. And now I could finally work on the shock that has busted knobs. I'm going to make a whole separate video on that. And all that's left is inspect your bearings. This one rolls good, no grindy sounds. This one rolls good, no grindy sounds. And we can clean it all up and put it back together. Our parts are clean. Our bearings, we know, are working well, right? They are moving, they are not seized. Time to put it all back together. Now what we are going to need is a little bit of grease. Also, I changed my soft jaw. I went with a pure flat soft jaw as opposed to the other one, which was slightly ribbed. All right, so make sure it's flat because we are going to be pressing again. So the way this is going to work, we're going to take a little bit of grease and we are going to put it on the inside of the eyelet hole. Then we're going to take some grease. We're going to grab one of these guys and we're going to put it on the outside here. Don't put too much. You don't want to rub it on the cone. You just want to rub it on the flat part. All right. So now what we're going to do is one at a time, we are going to press. Just be careful here. Make sure you don't hit your damper body. We're going to press in the cups. Again, be careful you don't hit your damper body until he goes all the way flat. Don't crush him in there, right? Just put him comfortably in there. Then we're going to do the other side again. Just a little bit of grease, thin coat. Try not to get it on the cup. All right. Let's open this guy up. We need a little bit more space. And we're going to repeat. A little bit more space. And he should go in real easy. Again, don't crush him. Just snug. All right? Don't over crush him. You don't want to damage him. Next, let's work on the bearings. As for the bearings, we are going to grab one of the bearings. We're going to put them in one of the cups. Make sure we got enough room over here. Nope, just what I thought. Okay. And we are trying to make sure that he is as even as possible before you put him in. Slowly, so, oops, I got my, don't trap your glove in between. Make sure he is sort of even. Right up, right there, he is even. So give him some room so you can wiggle him on there and make sure he sits even. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take him and we're going to press him in. Don't crush him in there, just snug. We do not want to crush him in there. Then we're going to take our pin. We're going to bring it to the other side. Make sure he aligns real nice. Then we're going to take our second bearing. Line him well again. Put him in lightly first. And make sure you're sitting even right there. There we go. And boom. Done. We are in. Actually, they seem to be rolling a little bit better than before. We had removed and installed our bearing mounting hardware for a Fox shock. Again, not a hard job, bit of a pain in the butt, only because, man, these guys charge, what is it, like 80 bucks, 100 bucks for this tool now? It's ridiculous, right? So, and all it is a pin with essentially a socket, really. Well, I don't want to say a socket, but ultimately, again, you can do this on your own. What you're looking for is any rod that, again, is around what, that 9.5 millimeter area or less, right? Or around that 9.5 millimeter area or less, really. So, well, less, you can't be too small, right? You don't want to be below 7.6 millimeters, basically. And inches, that comes out to 0.37 inches. That was unexpected. Or 3/8 by 39, 20. Don't even ask. I hate fractions. 0.3. So 0.3 to 0.3.7, which was 3/8 basically, right? As far as a rod. And again, for a cup, in order for it to come out on a vise easily, you could just use a rod and a hammer, basically, if you have it, to pop it out, right? To pop this thing out. You don't need a vise, technically. You could just take the rod and just make sure you cover your damper and just smack, 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 smack until it comes out. Not all that hard to do. You can do it, right? So technically, this wouldn't even be needed. But this, the problem with this guy is, again, he's a regular 1/2-inch bolt, but he has essentially metric threading, 1.25. I've actually went to my local hardware store and took their gauge to reference it, and the only one that worked was 1.25 pitch count. So it's a really odd thread count, but I did look online, and you can find bolts with bolt heads online that are 1/2-inch with this type of threading. Okay, so a bit of a short video, maybe a little bit longer than it should have been, but ultimately, hopefully help some of you guys out who have a bearing mounting hardware system on their shock in order to be able to safely remove it so you guys could do your 50-hour service without having to potentially damage your shock, right? I mean, this is just ridiculous, Fox. You should have just went with regular 1/2-inch 0.5 threads or even 0.175 threads, because those you could get at any hardware store at 1/2 inch or 1/2-inch diameter for bolts, right? And they're cheap, like literally cheap. So you can do that on your own, guys. You could try and grab a 0.5 and put it in there, but ultimately, you are going to be essentially retapping the cup on the inside, okay? So, guys, if you like the video, please click the thumbs up button. Click the subscribe button to see more videos. Click the bell button, bing, 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 in order to get notified when new videos release, and more videos are coming. In fact, the next video probably, because this was an emergency, is going to be a whole solution on how to fix knobs on a shock, all right, because this one's bad. Hope all's well, guys. We will talk to you all soon. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.